everyone. We are Colombia Climate Protection Organization. Today we are going to hold a conference to talk about the climate in Colombia. For now, let us make an introduction to our guys.
Hi, I'm Chen Yang Huang.
Hi, I'm Hong Yao Li.
Hi, I'm Liu Yishou.
Hi, I'm Zhe Yuan Cai.
Welcome to our conference.
Hi, I'm Julian Cai.
I'm Hong Yao Li.
We are the Department of Environmental Analysis of Colombia. Climate change has many effects on human life. These effects are mainly concentrated in Colombia's four aspects, which are economic, society, cultural, and ecology.
We will introduce some of the vulnerabilities and opportunities of Colombia in regard to climate change.
Higher temperature is a major concern for Colombia. Based on the average of several climate model scenarios, most of Colombia is projected to experience a temperature increase of 2.4% Celsius by 2017 compared to the 1971 to 2010 period. For the vulnerabilities, economically speaking, the higher temperature will influence the growth rate of plants and some crops will be destroyed. Socially speaking, higher temperature will also lead to problem of water supply. Ecologically speaking, ice and snow melting because by higher temperature leads to flooding. For the opportunities, economically speaking, warmer temperature produces a high crop yield and allows the use of new and potentially more profitable crops. Ecologically speaking, by higher temperature, the forests in Colombia become more productive, and the area of the forest starts to expanding. Economically speaking, the increasing temperature didn't influence the harvest growth rate in Colombia. The increasing natural hazard has a huge impact on Colombia's vulnerabilities. Ecologically speaking, the probability of storms has increased. Because global warming increases temperature difference between the poles and the equator. This change will cause storm formation. Culturally speaking, Colombia's coffee culture is unique and representative all over the world, but the frequent natural hazard has seriously bad influence on handling coffee tea, which is going to influence this culture. Flooding brings both damages and benefits to Colombia. For the damages, economically speaking, the flooding will destroy communities, and these bridges and houses need more expenses to be rebuilt. Ecologically speaking, the stuff brought by flooding may contaminate water body. The environment also suffers when floods happen. Chemicals and other hazardous substances end up in the water and eventually contaminate the water bodies that floods end up in. Culturally speaking, the heritage might be damaged or destroyed. For the benefits, economically speaking, the nutrients from the flood to crop will increase the production of crops, which will increase the Colombian food production. Ecologically speaking, the flooding brings more nutrients to farmland and crops. Politically speaking, with more and more floods in Colombia, local government pays more attention to precautions of flooding and builds specific departments which increase the safety of homeland.
One of the vulnerabilities is sea level rise. It is obvious that the sea level around Cartagena has risen as much as 1/8 of an inch each year over the last decade. It will contaminate fresh water and threaten human health. Tourism and real estate industry in coastal areas may also be affected. Some recreation fields and the inhabitants have to be moved and rebuilt. The next vulnerability is disease. Since Colombia is in tropical and subtropical climate, the spread of disease has already been a concern. Rising temperature caused by climate change is expected to make disease control and prevention even harder. Higher temperature and rainfall provide ideal environments for mosquito breeding and survivorship. This will cause foreign tourists not dare to travel in Colombia in order to prevent mosquito bites. This would make bad effect on tourism. Then, ecosystem broken is another vulnerability. In the Andes Mountains of Colombia, a unique and hauntingly beautiful mountainous wetland is threatened by climate change and growing temperature extremes. In the area, biological chain has been broken and some species are in the danger of extinction, especially the lemur leaf frog. Their population has undergone a precipitous decline of over 80%. Vulnerable ecosystems are prone to food reduction. The reduction can cause serious social problems. The fourth vulnerability is water shortage. In recent years, water shortage has become a major issue because of higher temperature and heat wave. As the population of Colombia growing rapidly, the demand for water will be greater than the ecosystem can provide. Residents will not have enough water for living. Meanwhile, the farmlands and crops will experience more drought due to the reduction of rural water supply.
Hi, I'm Jia Jinggong. I'm Department Environmental History. I'm gonna talk about some history climate circumstances combined with carbon footprint, economics, and the fossil fuel burning situation in Colombia.
We can find out that some scientists give out some statistics shows the total carbon dioxide emission in 2015. It shows the land use change and forestry that participate in UNREDD program. We all know that most of the carbon emission comes from the industrial processes and the transportation, like cars, trains, and planes, etc. For now, if we want to change this bad situation of carbon emission, we have to control the industries and construction. We can use some high technology to invent some new energy to take place of fuel. We can focus on agriculture or energy generating industries, and we can initiate people to use public services more instead of driving our own cars. Next, we are going to talk about the history of climate change combined with the economics in Colombia. Before imperialism and industrialization, during this period, indigenous people was dominating the Colombia, and all the production is for supporting life. Colombia had less impact on climate during this time because most of the activity is agriculture and some simple handicraft. After imperialism, commercial agriculture became to the foundation of Colombia's economy. The climate change during this time, deforestation, which caused more and more land be affected by mining. Also, the land erosion caused by mining damaged many living places. After industrialization, coffee boom catapulted the country into modern period, bringing attendant benefits of transportation, particularly railroads, communication, infrastructure, and first major attempts in manufacturing. The climate change after industrialization, more and more toxic waste extracted from oil production, climate change as the increasing number of pipeline for oil, local areas land has to be cracked out and recovered, which caused a lot of damage on the land. Because of the good location in Colombia, there are abundances of non-renewable resources. The most useful one is the coal for fossil fuel burning. We found that data shows that Colombia recovered of 7.44 billion short tons of coal, more than 94% of which is anthracite and the bituminous coal. Huge amount of coal was found in northern Colombia, in a place called Cesar Departamento. It is also called by people as home largest coal mining operation in Latin America. It reserves high-quality coal more than 65 million metric tons, and the yearly output approximately to 3 to 4 million metric tons.
Hi everyone, my name is Yunqing Li. I'm Department Environmental History, and today I'm going to introduce three parts of Colombia's history: the history of deforestation and forest degradation, the vulnerable populations in Colombia, and the three parts of Colombia's trade-off. The first part is deforestation and forest degradation. There are two main points of this. The first one is FAO reports a constant rate of deforestations between the 1990s and the 2010. And the second one is the deforestation in Colombia increased by 192% in 2012, the biggest percentage increase in the entire Amazon region. And for the second part is the vulnerable populations. There are four kinds of people. The first one is women. Climate change influences the right time of women planting, burning food, and collecting food. The second one is the poor people. Improving their accessibility to jobs, schools, and other public service to poor people groups can encourage physical activity and improve death equality. The third one is children. In Colombia, 1 in 5 of 14,000 child deaths due to acute lower respiratory infections to contributable to household air pollution. The fourth one is indigenous people. Indigenous groups usually live in the forest or other natural area. The protection of indigenous land rights directly leads to the reduction in carbon emission. And the third one is Colombia's trade-off. There are three main points of this one. The first one is reduce the coal development to reduce carbon emissions. The pro is the air will be fresh and to the living environment to the surrounding residents will be improved. The con is this will affect the local economy. The second point is build dam to attract the flow caused by extreme weather during the rainy season. The pro is building dam is good for agriculture, and the con is if build dam in Mococa River, some residents have to move, such as lost sausages. The third one of the Colombia's trade-off is research drugs to stop the spread of the disease. The pro is reduce the risk of newborn baby from being small head and underdeveloped brains, which is caused by Zika virus and diseases transmitted by mosquitoes. The con is this method has not been fully tested and proven effective.
I'm Yuan Xiao, the representative of Colombia in Kyoto political and international negotiations. I will focus on seeking to reduce the vulnerability of Colombia's environment. The Colombia government established its national GHG inventors for 1990 and 1994 and presented the actions done for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in Colombia. There is information of UNFCCC and Kyoto for Colombia and some major instances. First of all is the UNFCCC for Colombia, that Colombia endorsed the provisions from UNFCCC and agreed to reduce greenhouse gas to center level. Although Colombia needs financial support to mitigation and adaptation, Colombia is willing to help other developing countries that have the same target. Secondly, the Kyoto for Colombia. Negotiations for the Kyoto Protocol portray Colombia as a developing nation that has fulfilled its obligation to report on regular gas emissions. And here are some major instances. First, the Ministry of Environment and the UNPD Fund resources are running the reducing risk and vulnerability against climate change in the range of the depression monitor in Colombia. Secondly, Colombia has submitted one national communication to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is UNFCCC in December 2001. lay out the actions taken by the government and the analytical basis for its policy response to climate change and its commitment to take future actions within an official international framework. Thirdly, Colombia already have specific department. The Storage Low Carbon Development states that Colombia should take advantage of international incentive to promote low carbon growth. Work on the second national communication has already started. It will include an update of the national greenhouse gas inventory from 2000 and 2004, vulnerability and adaptation studies for the various sectors, including water resources and a chapter in mitigation measures. And the last one, the Integrated National Adaptation Project, which is INAP, was designed to support Colombia's efforts to define and implement provision and adaptation measures to climate change. It focuses mainly on ecosystem, island, and human health. The project worked with local communities on land use adaptation at reducing the impact of this resource. It is Colombia's priority to form more integrated action plan for climate change.
Hi, I'm Chen Yanghua and I belong to the Department of Environment. Since hundreds of people died by natural disasters and extreme weather, Colombia government even decided to limit the economic activities to deal with pollution and climate change. During the Paris conference, Colombia's environment minister has announced that they will reduce their projected greenhouse gas emission by 20% by 2030.
Here are some recommendations for our projected target. Top priority is deforestation. For deforestation, we will stay opinion with indigenous people because they have the strongest relation with forest. Another two are changing our politicals to support forest production and improving the industry of recycling, which can reduce the demand and waste of paper product and decrease deforestation. Second is for natural disasters and climate change. Since the huge amount of damage caused by the increasing number of flooding in Colombia, we will build a dam in Amazon River to adjust water flow, making sure the water flow are under our control. Another recommendation is encouraging people to riding bike, taking public transportation and carpooling to reduce the carbon emission, which are directly impact on our Paris target associate the carbon emission. Since building dam will require large amount of area and making a lot of noise, indigenous people who living in this area have to move to other place, and some local heritage might be damaged in this area. Since the relative low position of women in society, if we apply these recommendations, women will be one of the most vulnerable groups because most women are in simple physical jobs. If we deconstruct farms and build them, many people will lose their job, and most of them are women. Also, when we are building the public transportation, due to the high physical work and labor that will be hired are mostly men, which means women have relatively low competitive in job. Also, encouraging people to ride bike can lower the daily traffic significantly. They will have more burden on national manufacture. In the long run, the extra bikes that we produce can be exported to neighbor country, such as Brazil. Also, the sense of riding bike not only can lower the carbon emission in Colombia, but also can keep people's healthy life. So the benefit of this recommendation is more than the cost.
Today, Colombia's environment has been worsened by climate change. Please help us to protect Colombia's environment.
Thanks for watching.